money in South Africa, including the measures of money, which are M1, M2, and M3, and they're gonna look at the deposit, which are money, and debit card and credit card, which are not money, and why they are not money. So when we're talking about money, we're talking about it's a token which is used as means of payment. So money, you use it like to pay something so that you can get that particular good. So it's a means of payment. So it's a token that you actually use to get the good that you want through paying someone. You pay for the good and then you get the good. There are three functions of money, which first function we're going to talk about medium of exchange. So what do we mean by medium of exchange is that uh, it's an exchange of money for a particular good. So what you do is that you're going to give the person money and then the person they're going to give you the particular good that you want. Because if we didn't have money, we're going to use the method called bartering, where people are going to trade goods for another goods, and which was going to become difficult because you have to look for a person who has the particular goods that you want, and that person has to be looking for the good that you have, you see. So it was going to become difficult. So money can be used as a medium of an exchange so that exchanging of goods can become easy, because a person who's actually selling something will always accept money. Money can also be used as a unit of an account. So by unit of an account, it's like money can be used so that you can actually plan what to do with your money. You can budget. So if you're going to the movie, you can know at the movie you're gonna be paying this amount for watching a movie. You're gonna be paying this amount for that soda. You're gonna be paying a 10 rand for soda. So a money is like a use of a unit of an account. What it means, it actually means like a money can be uh placed as prices of goods by unit of an account. Money can also be used as a store of value. By store of value, you can actually put your money for a long time and then decide to use it for the future use. So the store of value it can be good and it can be bad, because you can store money and you say that you're going to use it for the future use, and then the inflation can rise. So if the inflation rises, the money that you have stored is going to become useless. But then if you store the money and then there's actually a fall in inflation, the money that you actually stored will become beneficial. Money in South Africa consists of a currency and a deposit. By currency, what we're actually talking about when we're talking about currency, currency are like notes and coins that are owned by individuals. So we can actually call those things money. So these are notes and coin held by individual and business are known as currency, and notes are money because the government declares them so with the signature of the Reserve Bank. So you can see the signature on every rand note. Note and coins inside banks are not counted as money because they are not held by individuals. So a currency has to be held by individuals so that it can be counted as money. When we're talking about a deposit of individual and business at banks and other depository institutions such as Post Bank are also counted as money. So deposit are money because the owner of a deposit can use them to make payments. So if you're the owner of the deposit, you can actually use that deposit to make payments of anything that you want. So we can say that currency and deposit are actually money. When you're talking about the measures of money, we're talking about M1 and M2 and M3. So where we're talking about M1, what M1 actually says that there are three measures of money, right, in South Africa, which are known as M1, M2, and M3, right? So M1 consists of a currency plus check deposit owned by individuals and business. So M1 does not include currency, which is the currency held by bank, and it does not include currency and check deposit owned by the government. So because it doesn't include checks that are being held by banks and by government, it means that it includes checks that are being held by individuals. So if checks are being held by individuals, they are money. So M1 is going to be included as money. M2 consists of M1 plus short and medium term deposits such as saving and deposit. So money market funds. So you can see that M2 it consists of approximately like 50% of M1. So M2 is actually money because it consists of that 50% of M1. When we're talking about M3, M3 is M2 plus money that is deposited for longer time horizon, such as a pension fund. It evident that long-term deposit from a relatively small portion of our money, since appreciated like nearly 80% of M3 consists of M2. So you can hear that 80% of M2 of M3 consists of M2. So 80%, if it consists of M2, which is as 80%, and then M2, it has a 50% of M1, which means that M1, M2, and M3, they are all money. As you can see here, the 50% of M2, and then the 80% of M3. Deposit are money, but then debit card are not money. How so? Deposit are money because deposit, as we have already mentioned, deposit of an individual business and banks, other depository institutions such as post bank, are also counted as money because they are not being held by the government, they are not being held by the banks, but they're being held by individuals, and the individual can use the deposit to make payments. So we consider deposit as money, but then debit card, we don't consider them as money because a card is like something that you actually use to make debt. Because if you go to Mr. Price and then you say you want to buy clothes, what you're going to do is that you're going to swipe the card, and then when you swipe the card, you're going to actually uh leave a debt there so that you can pay maybe at the end of the month or somewhere there. So a debit is like you create a debt through a card. So we don't consider that money because you don't make a payment immediately after you swipe. Credit card are also not money because what you actually do is that when you go at Mr. Price again, like you want to buy clothes, what they're going to do, they're going to ask you for your ID. So the moment they ask for your ID, just know that it is not money because you're not going to make the payments as soon as possible. And then ID is not part of the bank, it doesn't actually include anything that has to do with money. When we're talking about depository institution, what actually talking about depository institution are actually institution. They are firms that take deposit from individuals and make loans to other individuals and firm. So this depository institution, they have four types. We have so depository institution, they actually accept deposit and they make loans. So when you go to the bank and then you make a deposit, what they actually do that they're gonna take that the money that you've deposited, and then they're gonna lend it to other individuals. When they lend the other individuals, what they're gonna do is that they're gonna lend the money in an interest rate, and then when the person who have loaned the money, when they pay the money can be doubled according to the interest rate. So that is how banks actually make money, and then they're gonna return back your deposit like nothing ever happened. So there are four types of depository institution. We have commercial bank, we have natural mutual bank, post bank, land, and agriculture. So the purpose of a land and agriculture is to provide financial for agricultural activity. So the main aim of a post bank is to offer savings and facility to promote a culture of saving in South Africa, especially to rural areas and a small community which cannot be served profitably by commercial banking. While there is a separate act for mutual bank, there are not many such banks left in South Africa, since a mutual bank operate like commercial bank, but a limited amount of assets. Therefore, mutual bank that grow turn into a commercial bank. So the current movement in South Africa is to pull mutual bank and all the informed saving instructions such as Stockfell and everything. So what that actually means that commercial banks like banks that are like capital banks, they're like capital banks, they're like ABSA. So those are banks that actually the banks that you actually deposit and then you go and lend for money. But then a mutual bank, it's not like the same as commercial bank, because for a bank to become a commercial bank, it has to go through the process of mutual bank first. And then we're talking about post bank are actually the banks that are actually involved in making credit cards and all the debit cards. And then land and agriculture, they actually provide debt to people who own land and agricultural farm here in South Africa. So building act for the aim, this is like the aim of the bank, and it is used to maximize its net worth. What they do, the aim is to lend money. So that is their their priority, like to lend money to other individuals. That is how banks actually make its net worth. So what depository institutions do, they actually provide services such as check clearing. They provide account management, debit card, credit card, in internet banking. So what they actually do is like a check clearing. When you go to the bank and then you say that you want to clear a check, they're gonna charge you for that. For the fact that they are managing your account, they're gonna charge you for that. And then the fact that you have a credit card, is still gonna charge you. And then the internet banking is still gonna charge you when you're transferring money to another person. Of course, it's gonna have to charge you. And then if you have a credit card, of course, it's gonna charge you and everything. So that is actually how they actually gain. So uh, the services that they actually provide, they actually charge money from those services. So we have four types of assets that bank use. They use bank reserve, which are notes and coins in banks, valued or in a deposit account. So these are like notes and coins that are actually valued in a deposit account. And then when we're talking about liquid assets, what they actually mean is that these are like treasury bill issued by government, right, to finance current spending as well as the commercial papers. So these assets are bank that are first line of defense. So if they need cash, so liquid can be sold and instantly converted into cash with a virtual no loss, because they are eventually risk free. They don't have risk and they are very low in interest rate. So if they are low in interest rate, that doesn't have risk. uh, so when going to security, what they're actually talking about in security is that these are like longer term government bonds and other bonds. So these assets can be sold and converted into cash, but at price that actually fluctuate, because their price fluctuate. These assets are riskier than liquid assets and have a higher interest rate. By security is actually when a bank try to buy something from the reserve bank. So what they actually do is that they're gonna lose their most of their money. So because they're gonna lose lots of their money, there has to be an interest rate that they have to provide so that they can get that money back. So this one, it has like a high interest rate than liquid assets. But then when we're talking about loans, so loan, they provide more risk, because like when a bank lends you money and then you don't pay the money in time, it actually make the bank to collapse. So what they actually do is that they provide a high interest rate for loans because it is more risky. So economic benefit that are being provided by the depository institution, there are four benefits, which are: they create liquidity, they pull risk, they lower the cost of borrowing, and then they lower the cost of monitoring borrowers. By creating liquidities that they borrow short and then they lend more. What we mean by this is that they don't have to borrow so many from other banks, because the more they borrow, the more they are losing money. And then by borrowing short and lending more. So when they lend more, they have to lend more, because when they lend, they actually provide interest rate, and then the more there's an interest rate, the more money is actually gonna come in. When you're talking about a pull risk, by pulling risks, that they have to lend more people money, so that even if one person default from them, like if a person doesn't want to pay, they can still cover that space up. So by lowering the cost of borrowing, they don't have to borrow like everyone, because if they borrow like everyone, they're actually gonna left without any money. And then we're talking about they lower the cost of monitoring borrowers. What you actually mean by this is that oh, I'm so sorry. What you actually mean by this is that monitoring the cost of borrowers is that they don't have to attract more borrowers, because the more people are gonna be borrowing money, the more they're gonna be losing money, I think.